questions. Mr. Zlotnick, you wanted to speak on this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Greg Zlotnick, San Luis Authority. Just quickly, agree very much with Randy about the inventory issue. Obviously important to know what's already going on. We are, as you said on item 1, we think those are happening and those are good priorities because they need to get done, and there is movement. On item 2, of course, as you identified, you have specific authority, responsibility to engage in those, and certainly that's appropriate. Item 3, just a couple of comments on the what might be missing also from item 3 is a discussion, sort of broader discussion going forward about the other stressors in the system. Kind of overall, that's been something that was focused on in the plan as well, but tends not to get a lot of focus. You channeled me a little bit, about halfway, Mr. Chairman, I'll get on this last comment about the follow-up of Mr. Helliker, and would also suggest that in addition to the focus you'd like to put on what's happening with conservation and things like that, what's happening in terms of preparing at the operational level, at a project level, both state and federal projects, on the east side as well, potentially, for how to deal going forward with shortages that are definitely going to be coming, and sort of getting that information out and what options are there to help deal with that.
Not dissimilar to what Mr. Wilson's recent exchange with contractors was on the dry year versus extreme.
And there are other issues out there operationally that are related to both of the projects that aren't necessarily spotlighted because they're right now, for example, and this happened last year, there are issues on the Trinity River that have an impact coming over the hill potentially. But just we are in this strange situation, which the issue with Mr. Wilson, where and Paul, we're not in a drought. But yet, if you look at the data, your intern, you got 80%. It's true, you got 80% storage north of the Delta, but San Luis Reservoir is only 34%, and it's not going to go up. And we're looking at very low storage and not much carryover, which is unusual for after really just one major year shortage. So, but that whole sort of construct of what can be done administratively, whether legislation makes sense either here or in Washington or whatever, I think this forum would be a good one to learn about that. And then specifically with regard to the items in item 3, on the reduced reliance, one of the things, as you know, we've gone in circles on this a little bit, is the statute calls for reducing it through a statewide strategy of investment. And that might also be an opportunity for this council to start talking about what does that mean, rather than focusing on individual agencies. What does a statewide strategy of investment mean to achieve that state policy in 85021? And in terms of the habitat, we certainly support that, but maybe it'd be trying to accelerate implementation of projects that are already in the pipeline rather than trying to reprioritize and figure out what needs to go overall, because there are things that are trying to get done, and there's various obstacles to those that maybe this group can help push to get them implemented quicker. And then lastly, we thought conspicuously absent from this list, frankly, was your recommendations in Chapter 5 of the Delta Plan. What can be done more quickly and prioritize to help develop the economic resiliency and sustainability of the Delta itself. Whether it has to do with economic opportunity, whether it has to do with infrastructure investment, emergency response issues, all those sorts of issues that are in Chapter 5 would make sense, since there's not really others out there pushing those things, where a lot of these other topics are being dealt with elsewhere as well. So I would suggest maybe looking at Chapter 5 as a place to throw some priority.
Yep.